Hi everyone, welcome to the Fishhead Creations podcast, where I pull out one of my interesting knitting projects every time and talk you through the details. My name is Anna, you can find me on Ravelry as Obsti and on Instagram as Caledoniana, and as always I'm very happy to hear from you and just to get to talk about everything I'm talking about here, so it really becomes a conversation and not just me talking to camera, which is quite weird, even though so many people of us do it, that it's become rather normal, I think, in the knitting community, but still it feels weird to be talking to a camera every time again. But, enough about awkwardness. Today's project is again one of my less successful ones, although it has a success story of its own, so it's not a completely failure, but it's not what I wanted it to be, so, well, I think that's the most interesting project, I guess, in the end, because if there's something that didn't turn out right or as planned, at least we have something to talk about, right? So today's project is my Epistrophy cardigan by Kate Davies, which I'm showing very awkwardly, but that's just one of the problems it has, the neckline. But first of all, it's again one of her designs from her wonderful book Yokes, and this is really the design that made me buy the book in the first place, because it's just so beautiful. And here's her picture of it. So her version has inverted colors. It's a light grey and a very dark grey contrast color. Excuse me for all the sneezing. I tried to edit out some of it, but I have no idea. I think both the book and the cardigan are rather dusty, so they will make me sneeze through the whole time. So the Epistrophy is written by Kate Davies, is written for a DK weight, I think for a DK weight. Yes, Toft Ulysses DK, which is a rather heavy DK weight according to her instructions. What I chose to knit it out of is Holst Super Soft, which, as we all know, is a very light fingering. Her recommended gauge or required gauge is, I think, about 22 stitches per 10 centimeters, which is rather loose for this yarn. I don't know how much you can see it, maybe against the white wall behind me. It's very see-through, and some spots have already worn out very much, especially around the armholes. But just let's get back to the basic construction first before we talk about the problems with it. So the Epistrophy is knitted in the round, bottom up, so you start either with a sleeve, knitted bottom up, increasing along the way, or with a body, which also has some waist shaping at the sides. I don't actually remember if I did the body or the sleeves first. I think this was one of my first bottom up project, and certainly my first stick project, because it's my only stick project for myself I have made so far. So yeah, it's knit in the round, bottom up, and then sticked on the front later. When you join sleeves and body, Kate Davies has you do some raglan decreases first, which is one of the spots that have worn out very much, because it's so many decreases in so little space. So the stitches in between the decreases get stretched out so much. So yeah, those have worn very thin in my fine yarn. And also I made this at 0 to slight negative ease, which, not knowing about the construction or anything, I shouldn't have done. I should have knit a size up. And also I think I knit it at least slightly more tightly than she recommends, because it's such a fine yarn. So it sits very snugly, and it has stretched out quite a bit just because of that. So my upper arms, in comparison to my bust circumference, are quite wide. I usually need a size up in the arms as compared to my bust measurement, which I don't always do, but sometimes, or else I just have very snug sleeves at the top, or I just increase more rapidly, so I reach the full circumference already just slightly above the elbow, so I have more space for my upper arms, which I didn't know when I was knitting this, because it was one of my first garments ever, and the others before that were rather oversized, and this one was supposed to be quite snug. So yeah, the sleeves are slightly too tight at the top, which even more caused, well, those raglan decreases to stretch out, as well as the holes in the underarms. At one side I even had to patch it up because some of the strands broke, but now it's quite nicely felted together, so I think it should stand up to some more wear. But yeah, that's one of the issues I have with this, because I just should have knitted one size larger. But that's not the main problem. I can just wear it open or whatever, or at least I could, if not for the other issues. But then, yeah, this one I steeked and then picked up the button bands and knit the button bands, which I now would do the other way around. So I would knit the button bands before steeking. But also I picked up at her recommended rate, which made for very, very large button bands. So stretching out, you can see how wavy they are. Because I have such a short row gauge that picking up at a ratio of 3 out of 4, I think, just gives me too many stitches along the edges. So I have very, very wavy button bands. And also, I did some research on buttonholes, because she just told you to do a buttonhole, and I thought that would turn out way too small, so I did a larger buttonhole, which led to these huge, giant holes in my button band, which mean that the cardigan doesn't stay closed. All these buttons, these are just from I think from my grandmother. My mom keeps a jar of buttons my grandmother collected, and I think I just dove into that and found, how many are those? 9? Yeah, 9 matching plastic black buttons, because at that point I already knew that this wasn't the huge success fit-wise, so I didn't want to spend any money on nice fancy buttons for a cardigan that I wasn't too happy with. So yeah, I don't think they look bad, but they're just nothing fancy, and they don't really stay closed if I'm wearing it, or even if I'm just dragging around the cardigan, because you can see how large the buttonholes are and how extremely stretched out the button band is, because it's just so snug on me. And it's so large and wavy that I get this weird thing if I try to close it. So if I'm wearing this cardigan, I usually just close the button at the top or one in the middle, just to keep it secure here in the middle. But nothing really works very well, and I only wear this in summer when it's somewhat cold or breezy and I want to throw something over me that I can take off in a minute again, and where I don't want a jumper that I have to pull over my head. So that's mainly where I'm wearing this cardigan, because it's fine, just doesn't fit very well, or but it's not satisfying to wear, because it always runs off my shoulders when I keep it open because of the neckline issues we're coming to, but it doesn't stay closed. I have tried wearing it tucked into my jeans. That works okay, but still the buttons at the top pop open. It doesn't fit me well. It's okay for lounging on the sofa when I just want to put something on because the wind just turned up a notch or something. But yeah, it's not my favorite. Although I really, really love the colorwork pattern still, and I'm constantly thinking about doing another version just to make it fit me properly and to fix the neckline. I might do that at some point, but I have so many ideas of things I want to knit right now that I don't know when I'll be coming around to that. So, well, construction-wise, I knit it completely as per pattern, and you can see how, at least I can see looking through it now, seeing the light coming through it, how unevenly I knitted. So it's visible that it's one of my first garments. It's a very inexpensive yarn as well, so it's okay. I don't think I spent more than maybe 15 euros on the yarn for this. So I'm fine with it not being perfect and with it being a learning experience, and I have learned much from it, what I would do differently in the future. But back to construction. I knitted completely bottom up, all joined as a jumper with a steek, or a few steek stitches in the middle. Then I did the crochet reinforcement, which Kate Davies recommends on her blog, where you just crochet one row up either side of the middle, so you know exactly where you're cutting. That's the main function for me in doing this reinforcement. I pulled it out later when I was trimming off the edges anyway, but it just makes it so much easier to see where you're cutting, and really doesn't take that long. So that's what I did. I think I used some sock yarn for it, not the sticky yarn I was knitting with, just to make it easier to pull out and to crochet. And it really was just about visibility, and I think I had 7 or 9 steek stitches, so 4.5 stitches I would fold away on either side, and I trimmed that down to 2 in the end anyway, so I didn't keep the crochet reinforcement in. It was just really to help me see where I was supposed to cut. And then I just took my kitchen scissors, held my hand below it so I wouldn't cut in the lower layer of fabric, and just cut it open. It really wasn't too scary. I didn't think about it much. I knew I was using a suitable yarn that wouldn't go away or anything. And yeah, that worked out totally fine. So I've never really been afraid of steeking, because Kate Davies has such an excellent tutorial, and the steeking part was really the successful part of this cardigan. So I really enjoyed that part actually, and I haven't steeked any garments for myself yet since, because it's the only cardigan I ever knit for myself. But I have steeked some baby garments and other things, and it's really my preferred method to avoid knitting colorwork flat. I'd rather put steeks everywhere than knit colorwork flat again, which I did for one baby cardigan. But back to this one. What I did then was order some nice little ribbon to put over it. These, I don't know if you can see them, but these are little penguins wearing hats and scarves, and they are just the cutest things ever. I love them. They are one of the reasons why I will never be able to put this cardigan away, even though it doesn't fit me at all, just because I love my little penguins. If I decide to toss it at some point because it rips or so, I will have to take out this ribbon and reuse it. I have some left over, and I'm really looking for a project where to put it. I love my penguins. They're so cute, and I have little white stars in between them. They're just the best little penguins. So yeah, I just folded over the cut edge after I knit the button bands, then trimmed it down and sewed the ribbon on top of it, just to keep it nice and secure and neat. So that part worked quite well. But now that we have done all the construction talk, let's get to the fit issues in the yoke. Well, first of all, this was one, I'm not sure if it was my first or second yoke garment, but I definitely made the yoke too shallow. I would have needed more depth in between here and here. So it sits quite low on me anyway because of that. And it doesn't have any short rows at all. Absolutely none. So you can see it's just as low in the back as it is in the front, which is absolutely annoying. So that's one of the things I would definitely change if I ever knit it again. It does need a lot of short rows in the back. A whole bunch. And also, I don't know, I think I even went down a needle size for the ribbing at the neckline, but it's still so wide. It really, you can see here, I folded in these pieces a bit and sewed them together because it was standing upright here in this direction, and would do that on my shoulders as well. So the color work came up to here, and then the neck ribbing just went straight up. It looked completely weird. So I would add short rows and then decrease a lot more. Yeah. I would also add some more height in the front, just because I think it's quite a low neckline because it's so wide, and it sits even lower than I'm holding it right now, I think. So the top, the back needs to be brought up. The front might need that as well, but I think it wouldn't look too nice because it's quite pretty how the color work stands in the ribbing. So I might keep that, but the neck really needs to be brought up significantly, and then I'd significantly decrease my stitch count before doing the ribbing, so it doesn't. Well, here's this much, just maybe fingers width, is folded in, so there's so much more fabric that was in there that was just standing upright, which just I don't know how it works for Kate Davies because it doesn't sit weirdly in her pictures, but I think she's a rather flat-chested woman, which I'm not, by no means. So on me it completely sits differently, and what looks nice on her is not really something that looks good on me, because just my body shape is so completely different from her, which I also experienced with Shannon. I really had to alter that neckline as well, because she apparently likes low necks, which I don't, and which sit even lower on me because I'm rather busty. So yeah, the neckline needs a lot of altering if I ever do this again. And I don't think I would do the raglan decreases again. I just would space them out in a row maybe. Just keep that bit of extra space in here for my upper arms, and then decrease down just before I start the color work, which I also would start a few centimeters further up. So yeah, the neckline is just the main problem on this cardigan, because it's so wide that it falls off my narrow shoulders whenever I'm wearing it closed, or whenever it decides to stay closed for a moment, it will just fall off one shoulder and just sit weirdly askew. And when I'm wearing it open, it's even worse, because it just doesn't stay anywhere, because it just sits so low that as soon as I'm moving, it falls down completely. And I'm just shrugging it up all the time and keep just tensioning my shoulders badly because I'm trying to keep the cardigan up. It really is only a sitting down garment. As soon as I start walking with it, it just falls off. So the neckline really absolutely doesn't work for me, but I love the pattern, and I really think this color scheme suits it quite well, which is inverted from what Kate Davies originally used. And it's a very pretty cardigan, and it taught me to stick and taught me to not be afraid of it, and it taught me a lot about what type of fit I want. But yeah, it's more a learning experience than a wearable garment for me. So I just put it down instead. And you will have seen in the intro video, it's just completely wrinkled and covered in cat hair, because I'm always just stuffing it in the back of my wardrobe, because it folds up so small, just fits in everywhere, and you really can throw it in your purse. And I want another cardigan from this yarn just for that purpose, for carrying it around everywhere, because it's so light and you can stuff it in even a small bag. So I really need to do that. But one other day, I just took advantage of the whole super soft Black Friday sale and ordered another cone of black yarn. So maybe there's another cardigan in that, but I need to finish that thistle cardigan first. I'm still putting off charting those 300 and something stitches, because who wants to do that? But I have to finish it this year. There's really not much knitting left to do on it, because well, it's already joined body and sleeves, and the first band of color work is done. So I really just need to chart my larger motifs for that one, and I really want to get it done this year, because it will be my 12th garment for myself and 15th in total, which I think is quite a nice number. What else? Nothing really. There won't be a podcast again next week, because I'll be back in Scotland on Wednesday, which is my recording day. I will be travelling from Edinburgh to Glasgow, because I'll be there for a conference that takes part. Well, it has one event happening in Edinburgh and then 2 days of conference in Glasgow, and then I'll be back to Edinburgh to fly home from there again. And I'm absolutely sure it will be a very interesting conference, because it's on Vikings in Scotland, which for me is relevant because it's just one of the transfer ways of motifs from Ireland going to Iceland, and just one of the ways contact between Ireland and Iceland and Scandinavia in general might have been executed. So I think it will be just a very great networking opportunity, and full of very interesting talks, I think. I'm not sure completely of the program, but I think it will be quite interesting and bring me forward in my work. So I'm really looking forward to that, but it will be another very exhausting whirlwind wizard of 4 weeks in 2 cities, 4 nights in 2 cities, and flying and train journeys and speaking English all the time, which I don't mind, but it's more exhausting than speaking German, and being around people I don't know is always exhausting, so I will be tired when I come back, and I think even though I'll be back home probably around noon on Saturday, because I'm flying so early, I'll just go to sleep then. I hope I don't, or I'll give myself a jet lag with a time difference of 1 hour, but it might happen. I don't think so, because I just cannot sleep anywhere, but I'd like to. Maybe I'll just sit down and knit a vanilla sock, because that's what I can do when I'm half asleep. Well, not to get too much into my tiredness after travels, but I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you so much for watching, and really, please just comment below, comment on Instagram, let me know you enjoyed what I'm doing. And has anyone of you knit the Epistrophy? Did you experience the same problems with the fit? Really, just tell me your thoughts and opinions and what you would do to fix such a garment. I've repeatedly thought about ripping out the neckline and redoing it, but just because it's steeped and the way it's attached to the button bands, I don't think it would work. But let me know, have you done something like that? Well, back to topic. Thank you so much for watching again, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye! These two don't seem too interested in joining the podcast recently, but really, they are a lot less annoying when they're sleeping. Especially this one, because she always has her claws out when she's running around. She's just so much more peaceful when she's asleep. And she's cute wherever she is. They don't even want to look at the camera today.